Hello friends, welcome back to the channel. It's your host, I had a little too much to drink last night. I know that sounds so surprising. So if you haven't guessed from the title already, we're trying to figure out if the ENTP personality is right for you. And the short answer is, no. Alright, good talk, see you next time. Alright, if you're still around, then clearly you want the, long answer. So perhaps you're in a relationship with an ENTP already, or you're looking to get into a relationship. And I want to preface this video by saying, out of all the 16 personalities, the ENTP is going to require the most amount of actual work. That alone should probably have you running for the hills already. But if you're on my channel, you're not here for the lovey-dovey, butterflies and rainbows, hippie MBTI. You're here for the purge. And if you're an ENTP who's worried about me giving up all the secrets, don't worry, you deserve it. You know what you did. Alright, so let's get the stereotype stuff out of the way. As everyone knows, ENTPs have massive commitment issues on everything. School, games, pets, people. And that's going to include you. The ENTP is always looking for something new. You'll notice I said something, not necessarily someone. So as long as they always have something new and interesting to focus on, you can at least keep them in your general vicinity. We'll get into the how later. Next up, of course, is the alcohol consumption. The angry drunk doesn't really apply here. The younger ones might be a little more testosterone-filled. What you do have to worry about is everything else. The ENTP loves to drink. Being late for work, hangovers, falling asleep in the bathtub, expenses, and most importantly, saying things they shouldn't. More than once have I gotten into a confrontation and or scuffle over something I shouldn't have said. For example, did you know that if you tell a heterosexual man that your gay friend also has the same tattoo, they might get upset? So if you're with your ENTP and the conversation starts getting a little out there, hard cutoff. So yeah, get them to bed and don't feed them after midnight. Alright, so now we're going to move on to the less known things. Oh, I'm going to have you running from the nearest ENTP by the time this video is over. Do you remember that scene in the first Avengers movie where Tony Stark is poking Bruce Banner with a electric shock tool thing? That's going to be you from time to time. The ENTP treats everything like a game because in their opinion, it is a game. And that is something the ENTP is not always going to be able to stop, especially with alcohol. They just like to pull strings and press buttons for experimental purposes only. They're not trying to cause lasting damage. They just want to see what'll happen. Please don't stab me. Take it in stride and put them to bed. I've often found that physical exercise can really nip that in the bud, if you know what I'm saying. And on the subject of things you can't talk about on YouTube, you're not likely to be turned down for physical activities on any normal day, unless of course your relationship's already on the rocks, in which case they've already left before you realized it. But if everything's going pretty smooth, they're not likely to turn you down. However, most of the time you're going to have to ask for it. The ENTP lives in a world of endless possibilities and limitless interpretations. So they're not always going to know when the right time is, so you'll have to let them know when that is. And my God, please be direct. If you come at me saying, I want to cuddle, I have to wonder, does she want relations? Or does she just want to cuddle? The former sounds fun, and Lord knows I need the exercise. The latter sounds really boring, and then I have to come up with an excuse as to why I can't. Don't always let them get away with that. And of course, another reason for asking, the ENTP needs to know that they're desired. I know it seems so shallow and vain, and everyone knows that ENTPs are just the most humble and non-egotistical people on the planet. If you want them, then they want you. Does that make sense? Step we have responsibility. ENTPs don't like it at all. If you see your ENTP doing general housework and cleaning, dishes, laundry, etc., one of two things is going on. One, that's not an ENTP, and I advise you to go look at my ENFP video. Two, the ENTP is having some issues, and he's about to make it everyone else's problem. Like they're going to explode, and then they're going to go full Socrates on the next person they see. If you're sure you have an ENTP and that's happening, send them to your room, lock the door. Maybe put up a barricade as an extra layer of protection there. Maybe add a camera so you can keep an eye on them. However, that doesn't mean that you can't coax your ENTP into doing some chores around the house. Exchange of services will probably work best, not those kind of services. Stop it. Order some computer parts, cook them some food, running an errand for them. With the right incentive, you can make anyone do anything. I'm a slut for Taco Bell, and I know a lot of that sounds childish and irresponsible, and that's because it is. Peter Pan is the poster child for ENTPs. So how are we feeling so far? Have you turned back yet? Alright, if you're still sticking around by this point in the video, that says more about you than it does about us. Now it's time for the maintenance of your ENTP. The ENTP is constantly drowning in their own sense of perspectives, ideas, projects, projects, and they have a tendency to let a lot of the little things go by the wayside. Alarms, calendar dates, reminders. You essentially need to be the ENTP's secretary, and sometimes also misses the big things. That may include you. Getting them to go to bed on time is a big one. When they get the creative juices flowing, it's hard for them to want to stop. Don't want to lose your epiphany just because you got work in 6 hours. ENTPs oftentimes ignore the physical. This includes their personal health. Make sure your ENTP is exercising regularly. This may include outdoor activity, which is admittedly harder to convince them to do. You're on your own for trying to figure that one out. But indoor exercise is also a viable solution. ENTPs eventually get into a rut of having terrible diets. It's very easy for your ENTP to get addicted to finger foods. And of course, beer and cheeseburgers aren't always good on your digestive tract. So make sure your ENTP is eating a relatively well-balanced meal. Otherwise, they're not going to feel well, and then they're just going to blame it on the tap water or some stupid shit like that. On the subject of food, when an ENTP gets focused on something, eventually you're going to see things on or around their desk that don't, belong there. This could be over full ashtrays. Don't let them smoke in the house. Vaping is better. Dishes, beer cans, empty bottles of liquor. That is something your ENTP is gonna need help with. They'll get around to it eventually, but it may take longer than most people are comfortable with. I know it looks all right behind me. Right here, though, I need a trash can. All right, so we covered some of the physical aspects that an ENTP usually slacks on, but how do you keep an ENTP glued to you? And that is admittedly going to be the most difficult part, as the ENTP can get very bored very quickly of everyone and everything. Chore number 1, keep up to date with their interests. If you're lucky, that's just going to be a new video game every week or so. Getting into your ENTP's interest is a surefire way to get that, extra mileage out of your relationship. This may require you to learn some tabletop games, pen and paper RPGs, Warhammer. It might be tough, but if you really want to sink your fangs into them, get on board. Chore number 2, going with them to places that they hate going to. ENTPs hate tedium in all of its forms. If you can be their life buoy in the crowd of people at the DMV, they will remember you for that. They'll have someone to bitch and complain to. Just make sure they haven't been drinking. This may also include going to the store, doctor's appointments, helping people move. If you can be there for them, it's really good that you are. Definitely rack up those spouse points. And chore number 3, this one is undoubtedly the most important of everything you can do. Do not lie to them. This is important for 2 reasons. 1, ENTPs live for the truth. They're always trying to find it, and they'll go to extraordinary lengths to get it. And number 2, the ENTP can smell the lies. If your ENTP believes you're lying, they will harbor resentment, and they'll do everything they can to pull the truth out of you. And 9 times out of 10, it's going to end up with you waking up alone and all of their stuff missing. And that one is by far the most important. Rip off the band-aid early, give them time to get over it. So many silly things. And now we're on to the real question, is the ENTP right for you? Most likely, probably not. It's my opinion that most ENTPs are meant to be alone, especially in today's society. But if for some crazy reason you still think they're worth the effort, here are some personality traits that might be helpful in making that decision. Games are a good one, if you like playing games, or things that engage the ENTP's creativity. Being used to taking care of friends and family really helps. And I imagine you can't go wrong if you're a little scatterbrained yourself. It's like I'm making a care guide for a pet. So if you like a little masochism in your relationships, the ENTP might be what you're looking for. Otherwise, run far, far, far away before they sink their teeth into you. And that's all the time I've got for today. If you enjoyed this ENTP survival guide, make sure to hit that like button. And if you're looking for more irreverent MBTI content, consider hitting the subscribe button. I may have a Dark Tide video coming up in the near future. Hope to see you there. Until next time, bye!